Hello you, welcome to Geekism and welcome to this very special video about the announcement of Frontier's newest title, Planet Zoo. That's right folks, this is not a drill, it is not a delayed April Fool's joke. The next title from Frontier Developments is going to be a Zoo Tycoon style game using the Planet Coaster engine. We're going to take a look at the trailer in detail in just a moment and some other little sneaky peeks that Frontier incredibly kindly passed on to me. Playing video games for a living, you get signed into a lot of NDAs or non-disclosure agreements. This is where you get information about games or play copies of games, and you can't talk about them until certain points in time. And normally I'm fine with them. This one I have been bubbling to tell you folks about it, I really have, and it should go without saying that Geekism is going to be the place for all the Planet Zoo news as it comes out. I am so hyped for this, it's ridiculous. So if you are new here, please click the subscribe button, click the little bell, because anything that comes out about this game we will be covering here in depth on the channel right up until the release in fall 2019, when we're going to be doing full playthroughs of the game, all different sort of coverage, including something very special in a few weeks' time, which I can't talk about just yet, but honestly, keep your eyes peeled and keep it here on Geekism. So here goes with the trailer. I'm going to talk over it. This isn't a trailer reaction video. I've already seen it a few times now. But first of all, I love the fact that it sort of encompasses the original Planet Coaster sort of style. The path forming in front of the character there, very similar to the original announcement trailer. Love how this elephant looks. Now, bear in mind, all of this is very pre-rendered footage. It's not in-game footage. This is more of a sort of style guide, gives you a bit of an idea of where the game's going. But even still, there's some really exciting things in this game. There are tour guides there, walking groups around. There are animals interacting with terrain, interacting with toys there as well, and you can see the guest looking at animals. Here's a really interesting thing. You see this bear interact with terrain-built pools, which is really exciting. So it's not just going to be a big lump of water we plop down. Hopefully they're going to be able to interact with the terrain themselves. And all you can see piece by piece building there. Hopefully they're going to take over the really in-depth and very powerful building technique from Planet Coaster and bring that across into here as well. And look at that. As well as the trailer, we have this key art shot. Now, a key art shot is kind of like a paint palette of concept art. It's just a big image with loads of different ideas and just sort of schemes and things like that, what we can expect from the game. And again, there's some really interesting points here. You can see how the paths interact with the animals. You can see the different fences used there for the different enclosures. And obviously the buildings at the back there, that all I imagine are going to be, or at least mostly going to be, sort of piece by piece building. And you can see the guests there sort of hanging out and having a look at the bears, and obviously the lions there create a really strong image. But better personally for me than both of those is we actually have an in-engine shot. Now I'm saying in-engine as opposed to in-game because obviously it's very early development yet, but here you can see this shot is actually using the current engine of the game, and as you can probably tell, it is the Planco engine, or at least the bare bones of the Planco engine. One thing I'm really hoping with this being a full title, as opposed to a DLC for Planet Coaster, is that they've been able to go back into the core mechanics and tweak a few things that have been struggling to do in Planco because it's sort of so embedded into the core code of the game. I'm talking about paths mostly and some other stuff, and this screenshot actually gives me a lot to get excited about. So I'm going to zoom in on this one and we're going to have a real deep dive into what we're looking at here, okay? You can see down the top left, just under the logo, we have some path coming out of the terrain and into a sort of raised path over water. That is really smooth and is not currently able to be done in Planet Coaster. So looking at that, it's telling me that they've gone back and they've made some core changes to the path. I can only hope. Anyway, like I said, this is all speculation. All the information I've got is all the information that you now probably have. I just was very kindly given to it a few days earlier to get this ready for you. That path goes around a gorgeous wolf enclosure that looks really good, and there you can see that the wolves are actually interacting with the terrain and also what looks like placeable rocks. So there's going to be collision involved for the animals when it comes to the rocks, which is really exciting stuff. To the right of that, you've got a toilet block, again straight out of Planco, and personally I'm fine with that. I'm completely fine with them using the Planco foundations to build on this, because so many things that Planco did right, the crowd AI was fantastic, although they are a little bit sort of set in their ways. The guys just kind of leg it from one bit to another. The way that they all move and interact with each other is fantastic. All the animations, all the crowd animations, all the people animations are all fantastic. There's no reason why they shouldn't use those again, because then it opens up development time to obviously implement the animals and other new features. One thing I will say here is it looks like we have some sort of spline-based fence system. I think, just looking at the fence here that goes in between the wolves and the elephants, that really doesn't look like the sort of thing that you could do with in-game pieces, you know, piece by piece, as you would do in Planet Coaster. I mean, you could technically, but it'd be really a lot of work, and I actually think that's going to be more of a spline-based fencing system like what we've seen in Jurassic World Evolution. Again, another Frontier game. There's no reason why they're not going to have taken bits from both of these titles to push them together. In the background there, you can see a real large sort of stately home building. I mean, that screenshot there, just that little bit there, that could be a Planet Coaster shot. So, you know, I'm thinking we're going to get piece by piece building as we have in Planco. One thing I will say is that has been increased from Planco is look like the depth looks a little nicer at the moment, and also the foliage looks a little more detailed, which obviously is a really important part of a Zoo Tycoon game, is the foliage, because not only is it there to look pretty like it would just be in Planet Coaster, the animals are going to have to interact with it, and I'm hoping that certain foliage is going to work in certain exhibits. You know, obviously certain plants are poisonous to some animals, or some animals will eat certain plants, so you have to put stuff in there that they won't eat, so there's always plenty of foliage there. One thing I will say about that is at the moment, at least in the elephant enclosure, there's pretty much just one plant spammed around, so I'm really hoping they get a lot of variation in there with the full release, because obviously that is a real key part of a Zoo Tycoon game, or Zoo style game, sorry, is to get lots of different foliage that you can use with the animals. But yeah, look at those elephants there walking around looking absolutely gorgeous. One thing Frontier has always nailed, be it Jurassic World Evolution's dinosaurs all the way back to things like Connectimals, they have always, and I think Zoo Tycoon, they worked on the latest version of it, they've always nailed animals animation and textures. They really get them spot on, so I'm so glad to see them coming into the game. Another exciting thing here is that there's no fencing around a lot of this elephant enclosure. In fact, a lot of the enclosure is done quite naturally, which is really good. It's a very modern take on it. A lot of modern zoos work now, they're using what they call natural barriers. So you'll see here that the ground is built up on the one side, and then there's actually a water ditch on the other side there. Now obviously there should be some sort of fencing there for spectators not to go into the thing, but you can see there that actually the elephant's AI there is saying that you can't climb up that. So that's really interesting, because at the moment in Planet Coaster, you know, all they've really got to deal with is guests on paths. So the idea of animals being able to free roam around terrain is a huge step in AI. So but it's really exciting to see that looks like it's going to be an option, as opposed to them having to be just built into boxes, and you can use sort of in-game terrain, in-game rocks and things like that to create natural barriers. That's really exciting stuff. Over to the right of the screenshot there isn't really that much that's really incredibly exciting. There's some nice balcony pieces there, and again, pathways, trash cans, all the usual stuff. Again, could be a Planet Coaster shot, you know, if you didn't see the animals in there. But there is so much to take in on this screenshot. Honestly, I could just sit and look at it, I have sat and looked at it and spotted all these little things, and I'm sure there's stuff I've missed. So if that has, and you've had a good look at it, pop it down in the description, because I would love to see, pop it down in the comments, because I would love to see what you guys think of this as well. I'm so excited. I think this is such a good move for Frontier. I am going to address the slight elephant in the room, I imagine, and that is, well, why couldn't this just be a DLC for Planet Coaster? And I kind of touched on it before. I genuinely think it's just that with a complete standalone title, one, you're going to attract a different sort of clientele who don't really have any interest in coaster games, don't have an interest in theme park games. Zoo games specifically are their own little subgenre. There's going to be a lot of people who, just play them. Lots of Jurassic World Evolution people, lots of Parkosaurus people, and even just older sort of Zoo Tycoon game people. They're going to be coming over to this probably with some fresh eyes. So that's one reason. Also, like I say, with a completely new title, they're going to have been able to go right back to the core engine of the game, strip out some of the stuff, strip out some of the dead weight, make some changes that would basically break Planet Coaster if they went and made them now. and implement them here, and that's something I'm really excited to see what they can do using this as a new title, as a way to sort of polish up that Frontier sort of beta core that they really sort of smash at the park every time, that sort of design focused core. And obviously the one thing we're not going to know about for a little while, I wouldn't imagine, obviously we can't get from these screenshots, is what sort of management is going to be there, how we're going to have to look after these animals, how we're going to have staff interact with them. I imagine at some point there has to be a piece of the exhibit that has to go to a path so that rangers can come in and things like that, and do their work. In the full trailer you can see a guy walking with buckets that I imagine are used for food and things like that. So it's going to be really exciting to see how that goes. Now the only thing we have about that is the press release that they've released, and in that press release Johnny Watts, the CCO of Frontier, has said that this is a zoo management game that we've always we wanted to make for many years. We've challenged ourselves to build on the games we've made before and to carry the great legacy of classics like Zoo Tycoon series forward. We're taking everything we've learned from our past work and focusing on modern values, incredible authenticity, rich management, Simulation Evolved, anybody, limitless creativity and community sharing to make our best ever simulation game. We hope you'll join us when Planet Zoo launches later this year. The rest of the press release is mostly fluff. There's not really much to take away from it, although one thing that is quite interesting is they do mention terrain building and sharing with online community in the same breath. So if they've managed a way of sharing terrain builds on the Steam Workshop, that sounds really interesting. Craft stunning scenery with habitats, dig lakes and rivers, raise hills and mountains, and carve tunnels. See your animals and visitors respond to your creative vision and share your designs with friends in Planet Zoo's online community. So, they may well have just strung a couple of sentences there to make it sound better than it is, but if they've managed a way of getting terrain sharing on the workshop, which I kind of think you're going to need for this kind of thing, because so much of it is going to be about the terrain for building these exhibits. Oh man, I'm so excited. Rip Azuri Gardens. No, for those of you who don't know, we do a Planet Coaster series currently where we're building a safari park and zoo using animals created on the Theme Maker's toolkit. So they're just sort of standalone animals. They just kind of stand around and look good. But yeah, this comes out in fall, so I reckon probably some sort of Azuri Gardens 2 is coming as soon as this gets released. Again, if you are new here, don't forget to subscribe, because we are going to be covering Planet Zoo with as much detail as physically possible right up until the release. And like I say, something very special coming up very soon, so keep your eyes peeled. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, you can give us a like. It really does help out the channel. And if you're not already, don't forget to subscribe. Any thoughts, queries, suggestions, you can pop those down in the comments. If you fancy a chat, you can find me on Twitter. I'm at John T. Sparrow. And if you'd like to join in with the Geekism community, you can do so over at our Geekism Discord server. You'll find the link for that in the description. Thank you to all of our patrons. They make these videos possible through their incredible support at patreon.com/geekism. And don't forget to check out our affiliate links. You get yourself some cheap games and other goodies while supporting the channel at the same time. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.